Good evening. Tonight I want to talk about the debate we've been having in Washington over the national debt.
Not so fast.
For the last decade, we've spent more money than we take in.
Those days are over.
In the year 2000, the government had a budget surplus. But instead of using it to pay off our debt, the money was spent on trillions of dollars in new tax cuts, while 2 wars and an expensive prescription drug program were simply added to our nation's credit card.
The largest spending binge in American history.
To make matters worse, the recession meant that there was less money coming in, and it required us to spend even more.
A stimulus bill that was more effective in producing material for late-night comedians than it was in producing jobs.
But basically, the debate has centered around 2 different approaches.
The solution to this crisis is not complicated.
The first approach says, let's live within our means by making serious, historic cuts in government spending.
And he wants a blank check today.
Let's cut defense spending at the Pentagon by hundreds of billions of dollars.
Not so fast.
Let's ask the wealthiest Americans and biggest corporations to give up some of their breaks in the tax code and special deductions.
This is just not going to happen.
And to his credit, this is the kind of approach the Republican Speaker of the House, John Boehner, was working on with me over the last several weeks.
I'm John Boehner.
The only reason this balanced approach isn't on its way to becoming law right now is because a significant number of Republicans in Congress are insisting on a different approach.
It's called the Cut, Cap, and Balance Act.
Most Americans, regardless of political party, don't understand how we can ask a senior citizen to pay more for her Medicare before we ask a corporate jet owner or the oil companies to give up tax breaks that other companies don't get.
Which we believe is the best way to stop Washington from spending money that it doesn't have.
That's not right. It's not fair.
If you're spending more money than you're taking in, you need to spend less of it.
What we're talking about under a balanced approach is asking Americans whose incomes have gone up the most over the last decade, millionaires and billionaires, to share in the sacrifice everyone else has to make.
This is just not going to happen.
So, we're left with a stalemate.
You see, there's no stalemate here in Congress.
Now, what makes today's stalemate so dangerous is that it has been tied to something known as the debt ceiling.
The American people will not accept an increase in the debt limit without significant spending cuts and reforms.
In the past, raising the debt ceiling was routine. Since the 1950s, Congress has always passed it, and every president has signed it.
Those days are over.
President Reagan did it 18 times. George W. Bush did it 7 times. And we have to do it by next Tuesday, August 2nd, or else we won't be able to pay all of our bills.
If you're spending more money than you're taking in, you need to spend less of it.
Unfortunately, for the past several weeks, Republican House members have essentially said that the only way they'll vote to prevent America's first ever default is if the rest of us agree to their deep spending cuts only approach.
If you're spending more money than you're taking in, you need to spend less of it.
But do you know what people are fed up with most of all? They're fed up with a town where compromise has become a dirty word.
I want you to know I made a sincere effort to work with the president.
And when these Americans come home at night, bone tired, and turn on the news, all they see is the same partisan 3-ring circus here in Washington.
We're going to pass another bill.
The American people may have voted for divided government, but they didn't vote for a dysfunctional government.
And if the president signs it, the crisis atmosphere that he has created will simply disappear.
America, after all, has always been a grand experiment in compromise.
Those days are over.
We remember the Americans who held this country together during its most difficult hours, who put aside pride and party to form a more perfect union.
Which in Washington means we spend more and you pay more.
That's who we remember. That's who we need to be right now.
And he wants a blank check today.
So let's seize this moment to show why the United States of America is still the greatest nation on earth.
Not so fast.
Not just because we can still keep our word and meet our obligations, but because we can still come together as one nation.
Not how they will affect some politicians' chances of getting reelected.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you and your family.
And may God bless the United States of America.